continuing on the five faculties. Today, the faculty of Sati, the Sati Indriya. So far we have covered on this specific topic the introduction, the faculty of Saddhā, the faith, the faculty of Viriya, the energy. Today, the faculty of Sati, mindfulness. Mindfulness is Sati. Also, people translate this as awareness and memory. Both the terms of mindfulness or awareness and memory has significant importance in them. So we will try to explain the faculty of Sati, not just Sati or mindfulness, but the faculty. I think you are aware, faculty means Indriya. Indriya means that which dominate another part of the consciousness or the concomitant mental factors. So if a mental faculty dominates or maintain lordship over a group of another mental faculties, mental factors, they are called the faculties. So Lord Buddha, the Blessed One, has presented 5 such mental faculties which wield lordship over other mental factors, leading that individual to the final liberation of nibbāṇa. So these mental faculties, indriyas, are, when they are practiced, when they are developed, that particular individual is led towards the liberation. That is why they are significant. So there are 5 such faculties. Today, out of those 5, we are explaining the faculty of Sati, Sati Indriya. Sati is, as I mentioned, to be mindful. We are born with it. Mindfulness is not something that we have to borrow. It is there with us in this system. It is already there. For example, we are all born as infants. Those infants, just born, knows no words. If there are no words for him, there is no thinking for him. Thinking is always wordy. We think words. So there is no thinking for a just born child, for an infant. Then what does he has? What does he contain? How does he respond to the changing situations? With the awareness. That infant is aware when somebody getting close to him, every day being present to him, feeding him when he is hungry, changing his diapers, talking loving to him. He recognized this person, so special, so close. And also he recognized another person with a beard, but still so loving to him. And later on only he learns the words to address these two persons, mom, dad. First, just an awareness, just a mindfulness of these two persons. Later on, he learns about them. Then they become thinking patterns. Then they become thoughts. First, these two closest individuals were only limited to the awareness, to the mindfulness. We were mindful. We were not thinking when we were born. Now we are trying to be mindful. And it seems like we are trying to go back home. Because mindfulness is what we are born with. Mindfulness is our home. Mindfulness is what we came to this world with. It is our home. It is our origin. Meditation, practicing on awareness is to go back home. Go back to that origin. Go back to that purity, ultimate purity. Practicing mindfulness, going back home. So mindfulness is something we already have within us. It is not something to borrow. It is our origin. Practicing on them is strengthening, developing, cultivating something we already own, we already have, but forgotten, but ignored, left out. We are cultivating on it, developing on it so that we will have more refined mindfulness than the one even we are born with. This refined mindfulness will liberate us from the greatest misery in the life. Liberate us from suffering. So Sati is to be mindful. To what or on what? To be mindful in the present, whatever it is, in the present situation. The present moment is something we cannot think about, we cannot talk about, we cannot write about, we can do nothing about but being present to it. We can be present to the present moment, but we cannot talk about or think about. If you think, it is always about the memories, the past. It is always about the future projections, future dreams, but not the present moment. In the present moment, if you even try to talk, that present moment is gone. It is already belonged to the past. I am talking in the present moment, true, but I cannot talk about the present moment. Present moment is something beyond our verbal, our thinking levels. It is limited to the awareness, to the mindfulness. So being mindful is, without any specific selections, to be mindful of anything happening. I can raise my hand like a robot, unconsciously, in a habit pattern, I can raise this hand. Unconscious raising. And at the same time, I can raise this hand with utmost mindfulness, being absolutely conscious, aware. I can raise this hand. Just a simple action. First one, when the action was happening, I was not there. That is why it is robotic. Even I cannot remember it was happening or not. I was oblivious to it. But the second action, the same action, when it is happening, I was totally there. With the body, I was with the action. The mind was with the action totally. So I remember every moment of my raising hand, small action. We are trying to train our mind to be mindful, not mindless. Most of our actions normally mindless. In the sense, when the action is happening, we are absent. We are somewhere else. What is the byproduct? Because of this absence, we cannot remember. We cannot remember our actions. Most of our actions are forgotten. Forgetfulness is there. Simple reason is we were not present totally when the action was happening. If you are there, if you were there when the action was happening, you can remember vividly, clearly, with the details, all those specifics of the action. Even after years gone, you can still remember. So Sati, being mindful to the present moment, no words involved, no thinking involved. Mindfulness is nothing to do with thinking. Thinking is always about past or future. Mindfulness is beyond this thinking. It is a sheer awareness, not a singular thought. Sheer awareness. If you cultivate this awareness gradually, little by little, even you can be aware of your thinking. Your mind is thinking and you are being aware of it. The way your mind is creating the thought patterns. Like a third person, you are observing it. It is, of course, the highest point of the development of awareness, which we call the Sati in the Eightfold Noble Path. We will go there. But in the general sense, if we are to develop a mindfulness in us, an awareness in us, that makes us intelligent. Our intelligence grows with the mindfulness. Now, intelligence is not something we can borrow. What we can borrow is knowledge. Knowledge is to be borrowed, not the intelligence. Intelligence is something to grow up within us simultaneously with our mindfulness. As our mindfulness grows, follows the intelligence, wisdom. There can be educated ignorance, worst kind of ignorance. Because the educated ignorance is something you cannot correct. It is incorrigible. They think they know. That is the reason why they cannot be corrected. This educated ignorance is the worst. And in that ignorance, no matter how educated somebody can be, we can find silliness is demonstrated, exhibited. People become silly not because they are not educated, but because they are not mindful. 3 professors standing on the railway platform waiting for a train. While waiting, they started a philosophical discussion. And they forgot where they are, what they are doing, why they are there. They forgot everything. They were submerged in that philosophical discussion. The train came, stopped at the platform, and now it is leaving. Only when the train is leaving, they remembered that they are supposed to get into the train and started running after the train. Only 2 of them could get into the train. The other left on the platform, and he was crying, weeping. A porter, seeing this, told this crying professor, "You no need to cry, buddy. Another train will come. You can get into that train. No worries." The professor said, "I'm not crying about myself. I am crying about my 2 friends. They came here to see me off. I am the guest. I am the one who's supposed to get into the train and leave. But they forgot everything about them. When the train came, they just get into the train and gone. Now they must be crying in the train, thinking what happened to them." The existence play jokes upon people when they are mindless, when they forgot what they are doing, when they forgot to be mindful. A politician, a monk, and a backpacker was in a plane. They were flying, and the pilot came out of the cockpit and he said, "This is an emergency. This plane is going to crash at any moment. So grab a parachute and jump out of this. You can survive." But unfortunately, we have only 2 parachutes. So you decide who is going to remain in the plane and who is going to survive. One is bound to die, going to die. Politician looked back at the monk and the backpacker. He said, "I am a very important person. I have so much things to do. People are waiting for me. I cannot lose those things. So you monk, you have nothing in the world. And backpacker, you don't have a home, you just move from one place to another. Either of you can die. And he grabbed a bag and jumped out of the plane. Then the backpacker said, Venerable, he's right. I'm just moving from place to place. You better survive yourself. I will stay, no worries. Nobody to lament when I die. Then the monk said, No, my son, we both can survive. We have two shoots because our politician friend jumped out with your backpack. Unawareness, unmindfulness can cause you to jump out from a plane with a backpack. This is how the nature laughs at people who are not mindful. So mindfulness, to be present to the present moment and evaluate, understand, comprehend the present moment as it is. That is the wisdom, that is the intelligence. That intelligence grows more and more as you are practicing, cultivating this mindfulness as often as possible. Now I was talking about the general kind of mindfulness, but this mindfulness is not part of the 37 enlightenment factors. They are not part of the 5 faculties. What is the faculty of mindfulness? Faculty of Sati, the Sati Indriya. It is the development of Sati on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The 4 foundations of mindfulness are the body, the feelings, the mind, and mind objects, mental factors. I gave several talks on these 4 foundations of mindfulness. We call them Sati Patthāna. Patthāna, the establishment, Sati, mindfulness. Encompassing the whole area of our life, encompassing everything that is related to this physical body, the mind, internal and external subject matters. Buddha introduced these 4 establishments, 4 foundations of mindfulness, beginning with the body. Kaya, Kaya-anupassana, he says. Kaya-anupassana. Observing the body as it is. Now, when you observe the body as it is, there are several areas to observe. First one, and the most obvious one, is breathing. Observing this body of breathing. What is this body of breathing? If you are to practice continuously, you can find your breathing is kind of a body. It has a beginning, it has a middle point, and there is an end point. It is a movement, like a rope moving in and out. The breathing is moving in and out, sometimes long, sometimes short. With all the variants, the breathing, the body of breathing is moving in and out. So the breathing is the first to observe as Kayanupassana. Now breathing can be concentrated. Breathing can be observed. What is the difference? The difference is when you are concentrated, you can alter, you can change the breathing as you wish. Basically, they are intentional breathings. When we teach meditation, we ask our students to observe breathing later, but first focus on the intentional breathing for a while. For a while you focus, you concentrate on the intentional breathing. Then later on you give up that intentional breathing, and then you observe like a third person, like somebody else. Breathing is coming in and going out through your nose, and you are observing it as if somebody else is observing. You are not getting involved. This is the Anapanasati. Now if you are to get the meaning of this word, Anapanasati. Sati is awareness, Sati is mindfulness. On, Ana the incoming, Pana the going out, breathing. Breathing is coming in and going out. You are not doing anything but observing. Observing its incoming and outgoing. Not involving, not interfering, not judging, observing. This is Satipatthana. This is Vipassana. You can do both together or separately. First you practice the intentional breathing with the concentration, to develop your concentration. With the support of that concentration, you develop the awareness. That awareness is developed not with concentration, but with the observation, observing. Right? So the first type of Kayanupassana, observing your physicality, is to observe the body of breathing. Now remember, this is observing. This is something belong to Vipassana. That is why the suttas, Buddha says, Anapanasati. It is mindfulness. Being mindful of the incoming and outgoing breathing. Then the second one is four postures, easiest one. After the breathing, you observe your postures. If you are sitting, you observe from head to toes the way you are sitting. The posture. Walking, the main action is happening at your feet. The feet is moving. You are to observe with minute details the way your feet are moving. Yeah? The pace, the movement, with minute details you observe. Beginning from the general level to the detailed level you go with on that walking. Lying down, you observe that posture. So these four postures, sitting, standing, walking, lying down, observing them. The second one. Third one, foulness of the body. To create a disenchantment towards the body. You cannot do so by observing the body as something beautiful, pleasant. In the Buddha's eyes, the body is nothing to do with pleasantness, beauty. A flower can be beautiful, not the body. The body is disgusting. Yeah, that is the Buddha's understanding, and it is true. The body is disgusting. Now, when you are to observe the body as a whole, there is a beauty in it. Can somebody presume, can somebody misunderstand that the body is beautiful? But if you are to separate the parts of the body and observe, there are 32 parts of the body. And these 32 parts considered kind of repulsive, disgusting. So if you are to observe these 32 parts separately, there cannot be any illusory thinking to arise in you based on the body. That's the idea. So Kayanupassana, the third one, is to observe the repulsive aspects of the body. There are 32, and observe them. Then the fourth one is 9 charnel ground contemplation. That is to observe a dead body at the cemetery. Those days, people, when they die, they were thrown into cemeteries. They were not treated like we are treating the dead bodies today. Their understanding was, of course, the guest in the body is gone. Only the carcass, only the house is remaining. The one who was in the body is gone. Whatever happens to the body now is irrelevant to the one who was living in it. So, let it be connected back with the nature, become part of the nature. They just threw that dead body into forests or somewhere to decay naturally and become part of the nature. I think they are wiser than us. They had the wisdom of the reality of the life. They did not care about a dead body much as we care about. Yeah. They understood the reason for we to call that body a dead one. A dead one is something insignificant, something which is not we have to be so much care about. It is something to throw away. So they threw away dead bodies, and Buddha asked especially those newly ordained monks to go to those cemeteries and contemplate, observe, meditate upon those dead bodies. There are 9 stages in a dead body in the process of decaying until they become dust, until they become clean skeletons. 9 stages. Uddumataka, Vinilaka, Vipubbaka, Vichiddaka, Vikaritaka, Hatavikittaka, Lohitaka, Pulavakataka. These 9 stages are there. I explained these stages in our previous talks on these Kayanupassana and the other topics. So you can check on them. So these stages of decaying of a dead body is the last one to observe as an object of meditation, object of developing mindfulness on the body. The second one is the sensations, the feelings that arise in the body. Of course, feelings are sukha, dukkha, adukkama sukha, comfortable, happy feelings, dukkha, painful feelings, adukkama sukha, that is neutral feelings. These feelings arise in this physical body from top of the head to the tip of the toes. Other than our nails, our bone structure, our teeth, our hair, everywhere else, this body is producing one or another sensation, one or another feeling. For a mind which is not developed in meditation can recognize only the gross, rough type of sensations. That mind cannot understand the subtle sensations, subtle feelings that arise in the body. But as the Vipassana meditators have understood, this whole body is a mountain of feelings. Throughout the body there is a certain feeling at every moment. So observing these feelings to the gross level, to the subtlemost level, is the second practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness on feelings. And the third one is being mindful of the mind itself. The way the mind is behaving. What kind of emotions are empowering or overwhelming the mind? How does your mind... This is nothing to do with the thinking. Beyond the thinking, the mind, pure mind, what kind of shape is generated in the mind at this present moment? Angry mind, sad mind, happy mind. Not the thinking, but the mind itself. The state, the actual state of the mind at the current moment, the present moment. To understand, to observe, to reflect upon it is the Chittanupassana. Observing the mind as it is. Then comes the mind objects. Then again, they are not just the thought pattern, thinking, but what kind of specific factors are in that thinking. Yeah, mental objects or objects of mind are nothing but the specific factors of the mind, specific factors of that thinking process. They are categorized as the five hindrances. Is there active hindrances in my mind? Kama chanda, sensual desire, vyapada, anger, tīna middha, sloth and torpor, uddhacha kukkucca, restlessness and doubt, and vicikicca, restlessness and worry and doubt, vicikicca. What kind of hindrance is active at this very moment in my life, in my mind? This is to observe the objects of mind. Then comes the five aggregates. Rupa, the form, Vedana, feelings, Sanya, perception, Sankhara, formations, and consciousness, Vijnana. Observing these five aggregates. Six bases, internal and external. Six bases are the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Now, there are six bases which are external. Forms or colors for the eye, sounds for the ear, odors or smells for the nose, flavors for the tongue, tangibles for the body, and thought patterns for the mind. Six internal bases and six external bases. Then comes the 7 enlightenment factors. That is the positive side of the objects of mind. They are Sati, Dhammavicaya, Viriya, Pīti, Passaddhi, Samādhi, Upekkha. These 7 enlightenment factors. In our oncoming talks, we are going to explain on these 7 enlightenment factors. Then comes the 4 noble truths. The suffering, cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, and the path to the cessation of suffering. These are the mind objects that one contemplates, that one observes when he is observing his mind. Now, when we look at these 4 kinds of establishment of mindfulness, Sati, Patthana, 4 kinds of establishments. When we observe them, we can see the whole or the absolute life is included. The whole life in every aspect is included in these 4 kinds of establishments of mindfulness. So when somebody develops this mindfulness, in the beginning, at the initial level, he starts the journey. He begins the journey, continuously practicing, repeatedly practicing with constant effort. He is to absorb into his system these 4 kinds of mindfulness. And one day, these 4 kinds become his life. These 4 types of mindfulness and his life become a singular entity. Now, can you separate Buddha from mindfulness? Buddha and mindfulness is just a singular entity. All his actions happen in mindfulness. Even Lord Buddha was practicing step by step, gradually, to become mindful to the present moment as much as possible. But mind is such, runs away to past or future. Nature of the mind. But still he brings back. When he remembers, he brings back and again practice, keeping in the present moment. Likewise, again and again, when it is going away, runs away, as he remembered, he brought back and practiced. One monk, he used to practice this mindfulness in every aspect. When he is walking, he is simply walking, nothing else. And sometimes people saw that suddenly he stopped on the way, no moving. And only after some time he started moving again. People thought this monk must have forgotten his road. He must have lost somewhere. Yeah. So he is thinking about the right road to take. Actually, what was happening was, his mind was lost somewhere. So until the mind comes back to his object of meditation, objects of mindfulness, he stops. Only when the mind comes back to his intended object, then he starts walking. This is how those days our ancient disciples of Buddha were practicing the mindfulness. Such an intensity is there to be mindful all the time. And after some time, after a long time maybe, it is depend on the parami of that person, how fast he develops in the mindfulness. So after a period of time, what happens is he becomes the mindfulness. First he was practicing mindfulness then he becomes the mindfulness. When he becomes the mindfulness, we call him an enlightened being, an arahant. A Zen master. He was in a temple on the top of a mountain. He was practicing constantly. One day people got to know that this master has become an arahant. He is enlightened. So people from all corners of the country started coming to this place to see this enlightened master and to get blessings from him. That's what people want. Blessings. So people were coming. When they were coming, they saw a monk carrying some pails of water from the mountain foot. There's a well, and he is carrying water from that well to the temple on the top of the mountain. When the monk got closer, they recognized that this is the arahant. He is carrying water. What is the difference? What is the significance? He is just as any other monk. He is carrying water. He must be not doing such a thing. He must be doing something marvelous, something tremendously powerful, not just carrying water from a well to the temple. What kind of arahant is this? So they asked him about this, and the monk, the arahant, answered, before, when I was practicing, sometimes mindfully I carry water from the well to the temple. Sometimes not so mindfully. Sometimes just like any other one, like a robot, because the body knows the action, so the body is carrying, but I was not there. But now I do it in absolute mindfulness. My mindfulness is with action totally. This is the difference. This is why I know I am an arahant. With the action, my absolute utmost awareness, mindfulness, nowhere else. This is how I got to know that I am an arahant. I am enlightened now. And also I got to know that I don't nurse any kind of grudge in me for the unpleasant situations in the world. I also know any kind of attachment is not there in me for any kind of pleasant things in the world. I am living absolutely in the middle, no hate, no craving. I am in the middle. There is no anger or hatred arise in me for any kind of ugly, unpleasant, unsuitable things happening around me. I don't feel such a hate. I looked at those things with absolute awareness. So no anger arises in me. I don't have any intention of suppressing any anger, but no anger arises in me because I am in absolute awareness. And also when beautiful things are happening, people come and respect me, offer me so many things, but no attachment, no any desire arises in me. I am telling you with 100% genuine. In my heart, I don't feel any desire on the things people offer me. This is just simply because I am mindful. In my mindfulness, I am totally beyond anger, beyond desire. I am totally away from all these material and worldly affairs. I am living in the world, but I don't belong to this world anymore. This is the difference. So the mindfulness, it is to be mindful on these four postures, on these four areas of the life. Gradually you develop, and one day you will be nothing but a mindfulness on these four areas of kaya, chitta, kaya, vedana, chitta, and mana. The physical body, the sensations that arise in the body, mind and mind objects. That day you become enlightened. That day you are an arahant.